Today, I'm going to be talking about the PTDF roadmap or application guide. I'm sure everyone is here because they want to know more about the PTDF scholarship. You must have seen a lot of posts about it. It just got opened recently, so you must have been seeing a lot of things about it. So I'm sure you're wondering what's going on about it. We'll be discussing about it today. Just a little bit of intro about me. My name is Ogalia Bebinwe, and I hold a bachelor's degree in electrical and electronics engineering from Covenant University. And I received a master's degree in advanced control and systems engineering as a beneficiary of the PTDF scholarship. I came into the UK to do my master's as a beneficiary of the PTDF scholarship. I'll be talking a bit about what exactly the PTDF scholarship is about, how to attain success while applying, and key tips you must know while applying for the PTDF scholarship. Just a brief overview or understanding what exactly the PTDF scholarship is. The PTDF scholarship is a fully funded Nigerian government scholarship, and fully funded in the sense that, as you see on the next slide, it covers tuition, it covers allowances and everything, and you see that on the next slide. And to be able to benefit from this scholarship, you must be a Nigerian citizen. It also supports postgraduate study, so it supports master's and PhD. There's actually both the overseas scholarship and the one that is local, basically based in Nigeria, but that discussion for another day. And I'm going to be focusing my talk on the MSc, and it focuses on oil, gas, and related energy sectors. If you have done, is everyone hearing me?
Can hear you very clear.
If you have done any research on oil and gas or PTDF as a whole, you must have seen that PTDF is all about oil and gas. It literally reads Petroleum Technology Development Fund, right? It's all about the oil and gas sector and everything, and it's aimed at building capacity for national development. And it is actually highly competitive, as most of you would have known already. It is highly competitive and it is merit-based, meaning that it's point-based. I know a lot of people feel like, oh, you need to have connections to be able to gain from the PTDF scholarship and all of that, but that's not the truth. As I've said before, and I'm going to still say it again, I did not know anyone before getting the scholarship, right? I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any connections. In fact, I literally just saw it on a friend's status, and then I went ahead with it. I looked at it and I was like, oh, this thing seems easy to apply. Like someone like me, I'm sure when you look at other types of scholarships, like Chevening and all of that, you'd see that you need to write a lot of essays, you need to do a lot of things and all of that. But for this scholarship, it basically takes, to me, it's kind of like minimum effort and maximum reward, sort of. It's basically just your qualification, what you need, and then you also need to write a statement of purpose, which we'll discuss later on. And this scholarship is currently open. Deadline is 27th February 2026. That's in about 3 weeks thereabouts. So if you haven't started applying yet, you have enough time to apply. You have enough time to put together your application. And people have asked, okay, what countries are included? The countries included are United Kingdom, Germany, France, Malaysia. These are the countries included under the scholarship. It doesn't cover countries like Canada, USA, and the likes. So like I said, this scholarship comes with a lot of benefits. Return flight tickets, health insurance, visa fees, tuition fees, allowances for accommodation, and living expenses. So basically, you're not going to be paying anything at all. Literally from the point where you get the scholarship to the point where you land and to the duration of your degree, everything will be covered, basically. So now, what's the application journey like? It's quite straightforward. You have the application stage, you have the interview stage, and then you have the waiting stage. I like to call the waiting stage. The waiting stage is basically where you wait for the result. But the application stage is where everyone is at now, right? Applications are open currently, and all you need to do is put together your application, put together your documents, your qualifications, your credentials, and things like that. You need to put that together. Sorry, just one moment. So you need to put that together, and then you make your application. At that point, you need to decide what courses you want to go for, what schools you want to go for. So PTDF has a list of approved schools, has a list of approved courses, and things like that, which you must have seen on the portal as well. Now, once you are done applying, putting together your application, we'll talk more about that in detail. The next stage is the interview stage. And at the interview stage, at this stage, these are people that have successfully gone from the application stage, that the application has been received and they've received another email inviting them for the interview. Now, at this stage, you'll be asked to choose what location you want to interview at. It could be Port Harcourt, it could be Abuja, it could be Ibadan. In my time, I interviewed at Ibadan. I'm going to talk a bit about, after going through this, I'll tell you my own personal story, how everything went for me, just so that you can learn from them, and success stories of other people as well. At this stage, you're going to be called for the interview, and the interview is literally just about 5 to 7 minutes. It's not going to take time. It's mostly physical. It's mostly a physical interview. You're going to be called up to the interview, and then you go there physically. You come with your physical credentials, everything you have uploaded. Basically, at this stage, you're going to come physically with it, and you're going to be asked questions. You're going to be asked questions at the interview. Questions like, oh, what do you want to study? How is it relevant to the oil and gas sector in Nigeria? And things like that. Because remember, this scholarship is basically for the oil and gas sector in Nigeria. They are trying to develop that area. So whatever you're studying, make sure you align it. And I know there are a lot of questions around this, but we're going to get questions at the end. And then we have the waiting stage. At this stage, you're basically just waiting for the results. And yes, it can be one of the most tasking stages, but that's basically all you're doing at this stage, just waiting for the results to come. And then you get the good news, and then you start your process towards getting, the scholarship and to begin. In between all of this, you can be applying to schools, be applying for your master's degree, either PhD, whatever you're doing, to get admission offers, because PTDF doesn't cover admission. I believe that's also another question some people have. PTDF does not cover admission. It is your sole responsibility to get admission to the schools that you are applying to. Now, let's talk about the eligibility and the key requirements of this scholarship, right? Now, eligibility, you need to have a minimum of second class upper in your first degree or second class lower with relevant industry experience. And this is another question. Some people ask, oh, do I need to have a first class degree in order to get the scholarship? It's literally stated here, and you can see this information even on the website. It's literally stated that you don't necessarily need to have a first class degree. Yes, it's a merit-based system. So if you have a first class degree, you're going to get higher points for that, but it doesn't necessarily disqualify you if you have other degrees, because as you can see, you can still get your scholarship, but you can still get the scholarship even with a second class upper. And I even have a colleague that studied with me at the University of Manchester that got the scholarship with a second class upper. There are stories of people that have gone ahead to get this. I don't want anyone to disqualify themselves. That's something I would always do. Don't disqualify yourself before you actually apply. And it's towards the end of the slide. You must have also completed NYSC. Now, for this, some people, this is very important. You need to have an NYSC certificate or an exemption certificate. But basically, if you're going to get your certificate, if let's say you currently don't have your certificate now, but you are going to get it before the end, before the interview. The interview will usually be in May, thereabout, but this year the application opened much earlier, so it could be earlier. But if you're going to have your certificate by the time of the interview, you can still apply. All you have to do is come for the interview with your physical original NYSC certificate, but make sure you've completed your NYSC before you apply, and then you're almost at the completion stage. Let me put it like that. And then you also need 5 O-level credits, including English language and maths. Could be WAEC, NECO, GCSE, SSE, any of these O-level credits, and you need to have at least 5. As we also said, or as I've said before, it's a merit-based system. Definitely, if you have more A's, more B's, and all of that, you're going to get a higher point. Doesn't still mean that if you have less, you don't still stand a chance, because remember, it's merit-based. You could be stronger in one area and maybe not as strong in another area, but it's all about supplementing your application and putting in the application, because in the end, what's the worst that can happen? The documents you require are your statement of results or your first degree certificate, very important, your original WAEC, NECO, GCSE results, upload what you have. At the interview stage, this is more important because they must verify that your document is original. If you don't have the original one, you might as well come with a pin or whatnot. I know someone that is currently applying, and then he did not have the original WAEC, but apparently you can easily get that from WAEC website now for just a token of less than, I don't know how much it is again, but it's not expensive. If maybe you have that question, maybe you just have the printed out slip, you could also try looking into that as well. Yeah, you need your NYC certificate, you need your birth certificate, you need your local government identification number, and you need evidence of professional memberships. I highlighted this because I don't think a lot of people know how important this is. I feel like this is something that can really strengthen your application. So if you are currently not a member of a professional body, you can literally still join. There are a couple of professional bodies you could join. You could do your research. I have a slide where I have listed like a couple of professional memberships that you could possibly apply to. I'm an engineer, so I've listed engineering bodies. But if you're in any other field, you can just Google search or maybe utilize AI to look for bodies that you can actually join, basically. And then you have statement of purpose. Now, this is also important as well. More important in the interview stage, because that's when you discuss like the purpose, why you want to apply for what you want to apply for, what you want to apply for, and all of that. But at the application stage, you're also going to submit the statement of purpose. Although it may not be read at this stage, but it's important to put effort into this as well. And we'll discuss further on this. Now, like I said, a list of professional engineering bodies. I would also still try to paste this in the chat, maybe after the presentation, or I would either try to paste this in the chat after the presentation, or you can take a screenshot of these basically. These are basically engineering bodies in Nigeria that you can join if you're an engineer. Specifically, when I was applying, I was a member of the National Nigeria Society of Engineers, that's a graduate member, and I was a member of ISA, International Society of Automation, because that was related to my field. It's important that the bodies you are joining are relevant. You don't want to join a body that is totally irrelevant to your background or the course you want to study for, or things like that. That's really important. I just got to know about this Association of Professional Women Engineers in Nigeria, which is this one. But basically, just take a look based on your background, what organizations you can apply for. Some will require a token, some are free. Particularly, there's one called the Institution of or International Association of Engineers, something like that. And that one was free. I particularly tried it, and I think it took me like a week or so to get it. These are things you should try. And even if maybe you're not able to, just try that. Just like today, if you really want to join these bodies, research them and start putting your applications to get it. Most of them don't require anything special. You just need to basically put in your credentials and apply. Now, with drafting your SOP, now this is an important part, and a lot of people have questions on, how do I draft my SOP? What are the key things I need to include and things like that. First of all, you need to include what do you want to study and why. Particularly, when I was writing my SOP, one thing I like to do is I like to talk about the background from where I'm coming from. Like, okay, I'm studying engineering, or I studied electrical and electronics engineering. The question is, why did I study that? And so I started with something like, growing up, I was always fond of opening toys and stuff, which is true because I was a very curious child and I loved engineering. Like, I don't think I couldn't have not studied engineering. I like to tell people to think about like, why you are doing what you are doing. Like, it personal. It's literally a personal statement or statement of purpose. Why do you want to study what you want to study? Right? Where is this bringing forth? And like, what do you want to study and why? Specifically state what you want to study and state why you want to study what you want to study. Now, on the portal, you are usually given three choices of schools, three choices of courses, basically, and three choices of country. Particularly, if you choose United Kingdom as your first choice, then you might not be able to choose Germany, France, or Malaysia again in your next two choices. But if you choose Germany, France, or Malaysia, then you can choose them, like, you can choose basically either of them for the three. So there are two categories. There's the United Kingdom category, and then there's the Germany, France, Malaysia category. Yeah. So part of what should have been said at the beginning. So at this SOP stage, you want to state what you actually want to study. Could be one of the choices you've chosen while applying on the portal, and then why you want to study that course. Now, how is that course relevant to the oil and gas industry in Nigeria? Because remember, this scholarship, PTDF, is about oil and gas in Nigeria. So no matter what you want to study, and I know people have questions like, can I study finance? Can I study supply chain or other related courses? Yes, you can. But how are you going to tailor it to oil and gas industry in Nigeria? And I want you to realize something. The oil and gas industry is not just about oil and gas, if that makes any sense. Like, it's not just only about engineering, basically. Like, there is the commercial aspect to it, there's finances, there is supply chain. Like, think of it as a business. So whatever you want to study, think of how can I, craft my statement of purpose, or lay my own, like, what they call argument, on the basis that what I want to study is going to have an impact in the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. I have a friend that studied biotechnology. Now, someone would just sit down and think that, oh, biotechnology, like, from where to where? But she literally just completed her master's, like, with us too, right? She literally just completed her master's, fully funded on the on the PTDF scholarship. So think about what you want to study and how it's related to the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. You can do your research, right? And then put up, like, a very good statement of purpose. And then how will studying that course contribute to national development? Now, one thing I did when I was writing my SOP was to just research about PTDF. Like, what are they looking for? Like, who are they looking to give this kind of scholarships to? Or what are they looking for in candidates that they want to give this scholarship to, right? So now, how studying that course contribute to national development? So let's say I wanted to study control and automation. How is it going to contribute? If you don't know, you do your research. Like, okay, the oil and gas, I don't want to talk in engineering terms, but you kind of, like, link what you want to study to how it's going to improve. Is it going to improve efficiency? Is it going to revolutionize the industry? But basically, you have to tie your studies to the Nigerian sector and possibly talk about what you plan to do when you come back, so that it doesn't look like you just want to japa. Amen. Amen. Now, you also need to give a solid background. Just like at this part, give a solid background. That's when I talk about, like, what's your motivation, like, all you've been studying and all of that. And you want to talk about your experiences and your development. For me particularly, I spoke about, like, not just the technical aspect of myself, but I also spoke about the areas where I hope everyone can still see and hear me, because I'm just seeing this. I want to make sure everyone is hearing me. All right, amazing. Thank you.
Yes.
You also want to talk about your experiences. If you have experience in the oil and gas sector and things like that, you want to talk about that. If you've worked, maybe done like a role in an oil and gas, or if you work in an oil and gas company, or your company works for servicing oil and gas companies, you might want to, mention that, so they feel like you already have a step into the door. So you're like going to be able to contribute more. And then you also want to talk about youth development, right? For me, I saw that PTDF was, really, they were passionate about, like, younger engineers, younger generation. And at that time, I was volunteering under the ISA, the Young Professionals Body, we're trying to work on some things for, like, younger engineers that was coming up. So I spoke about that too. So it doesn't necessarily only have to be about what you want to study. In my opinion, some people would say, focus on what you want to study, but I feel like it makes you a more, like, diverse individual. Anyway, that was not spoken about at my interview, but, like, these are things you might want to consider adding to your statement of purpose. But the 3 things I've listed here are the most important things. These are just extras if you want to add. And for me, I kept my SOP to just a page. Now, success tips or success stories. So first of all, I want you to do your research, right? After sharing the success story, I'll talk about my own experience as a whole. So I want you to do your research. This is important because do your research. What professional bodies can I join? What are these people looking for? Things like that. Do your research, and then don't disqualify yourself before you apply. I'm highlighting this because some people tend to disqualify themselves before they even think of applying. Like, you just sit and like, I can never get this thing. You don't know that. You really don't know that. Once you put in your application, all you have to do is wait. Like, what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is, you don't get picked, but you tried. You lose 100% of the chances you don't take. So you might as well just put in your application. And then I would also advise to get as many professional memberships as possible, right? I think the maximum is 5. In my time, I had 2 memberships. 2 memberships from, like I mentioned, ISA and NSC. And that's what I put in. My friend who graduated with a 2-1 came with about 5 memberships and had like 10 years of working experience. So he also got the scholarship. So you might just want to, like I said, augment your application as best as possible, and then pray. Whatever you believe in. I believe in God. Pray, right? And hold on to God for a successful application. So now I'm just going to talk briefly about how my own experience was. Like I said initially, I did not know about the scholarship, right? And that's one of the reasons I posted about it, because I feel like there are a lot of opportunities that people are not necessarily aware of, right? There are a lot of scholarships, like even aside for my friend hosted a scholarship webinar. I think that was September last year. I'm talking about the A to Z's of scholarship. She got like 5 different scholarships at Gil McBain. She got scholarship. She got the Mastercard Foundation scholarship and scholarships even within schools. So once you do realize that there are opportunities out there and you can take advantage of those opportunities, I feel like it expands your mindset. So these are things to consider as well. So I saw the link on a friend's status, and just maybe some of you have seen this link or just got to know about PTDF for the first time. And then I decided that, okay, you know what, I'm just going to give this a chance. And unlike other scholarships that you need to write a lot of essays and stuff, I just saw that, I needed to upload my documents. At that time, I didn't even know I needed to write an SOP, right? I didn't know I needed to write an SOP. It was when I entered that and I realized, I was like, okay, I'm here already. I might as well, I might as well add it. I might as well add it. And so I started filling my application, put the schools I was interested in, started doing my research on the schools. And I think at this stage, you also need to do research because you need to decide what you want to study. And it shouldn't be too far away from your background. You don't want to have a background in maybe theater arts and you want to do a master's in engineering. They might question that, So you want to do your research, like look at the schools. And that's something I did. I looked at the schools that were available because PTDF has a list of partner schools. It's not just any school. So depending on the country you want to apply to, there are literally schools that are relevant, like schools that are partner schools of PTDF for these countries. So I looked at all those schools. I was like, okay, UK. I looked at all the schools. I basically wrote them down. I knew what I wanted to study was control automation. And so I started going to their website, searching control automation, like anything that could be closely related to what I wanted to study. And then I was able to like limit down or dial down on my options to like a select few as well. And for me, I also chose like things like engineering, management, or other things as part of my 3 options. So your three options for your school don't necessarily need to be the exact same thing. You can like split it across different options and all of that. So I chose my schools, I chose my options, I uploaded my professional memberships, and I submitted. And honestly, I forgot about it. And then I got in fact, I think at that time, maybe I still didn't really believe like that, if I'm being honest. But at the time, once I received an email stating, interview, I was invited for an interview and I was asked to choose where I wanted to do the interview. I did my interview in Ibadan. I was like, oh my God, this is real. Like, this is real. So, yeah, that happened. And then I went for my interview, and I'm going to talk more on that, right? I'm going to share my insights on that, but I'm just going to finish. Okay, I'm just going to do that now. So I went for my interview, and before going for my interview, I definitely did my research because I knew they would ask questions like, oh, what do you want to study? I knew they would ask questions like, why do you want to study what you want to study? Like, what's your motivation, or what do you plan to do with the knowledge, or things like that. So I did my research. I went to YouTube. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I also watched a lot of videos about PTDF on YouTube, right? To just share people's experiences and learn more about it and all. And so I did that, and I went for my interview, and I was just asked 2 questions. What do you want to study? I told them control automation. Why do you want to study what you want to study? And I explained the whole thing to them, or the oil and gas sector. I mean, you can't always be going to the plant. I don't know if people know much about control automation here, but you can't always be going to the plant to do what you want to do. You need to bring those signals in, and I explained all of that to them, and they seemed impressed and all of that. But before they started speaking to me, they had to like go through your physical documents. They had to go through physical documents, but all of that will be discussed in more detail eventually. Because right now the emphasis is on putting in your application, or if you have more questions on like the interview process, then we'll attend to that in the question and answer section. So basically, these are my 3 main tips for you. Do your research. Don't disqualify yourself before you apply. Get as many professional members as possible, and then pray. I'm also going to put some useful links in the chat now. So I'm going to share the list of professional memberships. I'm going to share useful links, the official PTDF guidelines. You can get a lot of that information there, and then list of approved schools. You can get that, and then voices of PDF version. I'm going to share that. So those are some people that came together to share people's experiences. So I'm going to share the link to that as well. Yeah. So thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation for now. So now I'm going to share in the chat. I'm going to share the list of the links. And then if you have any questions, you can just start like putting it in the chat. Or if you want to ask, you can possibly raise up your hand. So I've put in links. You have the application link there. You have the official PTDF guidelines. You have a list of approved schools. You have voices from the PTDF Scholarship application. That is basically like So that is basically like the voices from PTDF Scholarship. That's basically like a document of people's experiences with interview and things like that, basically. So, and I would also put the list of professional memberships, or if anyone took a screenshot, you can share it in the chat. Maybe that would just help people. Okay, so let me just start taking questions then. Okay, someone says, can someone with a second class lower in petroleum engineering apply? As you saw in the requirements, if you have relevant industry experience, you can apply. You can apply as well. If you have relevant industry experience, you can also apply. And even if you don't, in the end, what's the worst that can happen? So you can still apply. Can someone with 2-2 in electrical engineering with a strong background in power and telecommunications apply? Power and telecommunications is not entirely oil and gas. It's not entirely oil and gas. So though he's still serving and will be down to be done by May, you can give it a shot. Another thing I didn't mention is that it's also down to states, basically. Like, you'll be chosen. What's the best way to put this now? There are a lot of states that, like, PTDF chooses people from all states in Nigeria. So basically, it also depends on the competitiveness of the people within your state, right? So they choose people like based on state, like they choose a certain number of people from each state, basically. Is the session being recorded? Yes, it is. Yeah, we know we're having a lot of network issues today, unfortunately.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Okay, awesome.
My hands are big.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you can take over.
All right. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead with the just go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so someone says you don't understand the part of seeking admission yourself. How do you go about that? Applying to the schools. Go Google the schools and like their website and apply to them. Basically, you know what course you want to go for, so Google it and apply to the schools. Can you still present a professional member certificate that wasn't submitted on the portal during the interview? Possibly you can. It would be nice to upload everything, but I mean, your points will be recorded during the interview stage. So like I mentioned, once you get to the interview, they're going to collect your documents first, and then start like giving points, like going through the documents and giving points and everything like that. So yeah, you can still go with it during your interview. Just make sure you print it out. You didn't mention anything about references. That also not required. For masters, no. It might be required for PhD, but I don't know. But for masters, references aren't required. And someone that studied transportation and logistics apply. If you can prove it, why not? Give it a shot. Already sent in your application, but you needed to make a change. You make a fresh application or send them a mail for an update. You might want to send them a mail for an update. Duplicate applications are not accepted, so I would say reach out to them. Can someone with 2-2 in food science and technology apply because they have professional certifications? If you can explain how it relates, everything still boils down. So all the questions about if someone in this can apply, if someone in this can apply, everything still boils down to, can you prove it? You can have professional certification, that's fine. Can you prove its relevance to oil and gas? Okay, you're saying food science and technology. How is that related to the oil and gas? Like, to them, it will seem very out of place. So do your research. If you can find a gap that it can, like, just do your research. If you can prove to them that is applicable, then you might as well give it a shot. Or you decide to go for another course. Can someone with no experience just basically a fair guy with 2-1 apply? I believe so, because they don't necessarily ask for your CV, so you can apply. Someone is on a basic. Oh. Can you select the same country in all 3 choices? Yes, you can. That's what I did. I selected United Kingdom for all 3. What courses can someone with a background in environmental management study that's related to the oil and gas sector? you might want to do some research about that. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if, let me see. Okay. And you can go ahead then.
Thank you very much for the big presentation and the tips that you shared so far. I want to ask you, based on your experience so far as a PTDF scholar, does being a PTDF scholar, does it allow you to also possibly get an employment aside studying? Are you allowed to do that? And if the answer to that is no, are you allowed to probably engage in maybe free internship where you're not being paid? Maybe you just want to have some other experience or other sector outside what you're studying in the UK or wherever it is that you are. So in the event that maybe you're not allowed to work, does it also allow you to possibly engage in free internships just to make your experience the best? That's my question.
Thank you very much for that question. Yes, you are allowed to engage in internships. You are legally not allowed to work as a PTDF scholar while on your scholarship because they are paying you a stipend to focus on your studies and make the most of it. Yes, I don't know if I answered every aspect. You asked if you could work or do internship. You can work, like you can get experience, and I would even advise that, like you can get experience if you want. But you're not allowed to like work in terms of because they're giving you a stipend. But if you want to do a short internship, maybe during your break, then you can do that.
And then, sorry, thank you very much for that. And also, should this internship should it be related to what you're studying or the PTDF scheme, or you can choose something different on your own?
It's all up to you. You've gotten the scholarship, so you need to make sure it's not too far-fetched because you're working towards something. What do you want to do? What internship do you want to do that is like very different from you saying, can you give an example? I want to do an internship very different from what you're studying or your background. What's that?
Okay, for instance, let's say maybe I put in for a master's in engineering management, and then I also decide that I want to gain some experience in precision agriculture. Maybe I just find some company that does a lot of precision agriculture stuff, and I want to join them, maybe just get out some experience. That's what I.
Okay, I did.
Yeah.
Why not? I did some volunteering, so that's okay.
Thank you very much.
Sure, you're welcome. Any other physical question before we go back to the ones written?
Yeah. Sorry. I would also love it if you could share your LinkedIn and your profile so that we could connect with you.
Oh, it's just my name, Ogalebe.
Thank you.
Balolua, can we have you?
Thank you so much, Research. My question is this: I actually already have this on you, but I just want to feel interested by saying it. Now the question is maybe while applying for the scholarship, you this particular school that you'll be interested in. Then maybe after getting it, can you choose a different course of you're not selected by the school you chose initially or something like that? Is it possible that while you're applying, you have 3 choices? Then after your application, you decide to go with a different, like that after you've gotten the scholarship, you decide to go with a different school. And the question is like in 2 places. Either the different school, does it have to be within the same country or a different country?
Wait, you're asking whether if you apply, you're saying the first question I got was if you apply to a school.
No. Like during the application for the scholarship, you have to select the number of schools. The first choice, your second choice, and third choice, something like that.
And you don't get admission to any of those schools. You go to another school eventually.
Yes.
Yeah, you can. You're not limited to, as far as the school is still a PTDF approved school, you definitely can. You're not limited to the schools you put on the portal because in the end, it's still based on whether you get admission from them or not. Do you understand? Okay, Adamu, can we have you?
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for your presentation. My question is, when you get scholarship.
I'm not hearing you so clearly. Do you want to drop your message in your question in the chat?
I think you should drop this question on the chat box. I think that will be fine.
Okay.
All right.
I think someone's hand is also up. George, I think you can say your question now. George, your hand is up.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I want to add, during the process of applying, must one be a placeholder? Must it be given admission before going ahead to apply?
No, I mentioned that you don't need to have admission before you apply. You can apply for admission after you are done applying.
Secondly, because I noticed that most of these schools do ask for application fee. Does PTDF cover the cost of?
No, they don't.
Yeah.
You can possibly get an application fee waiver if you want. For example, when I applied to Imperial College, they wanted an application fee, but I just searched and found that, I could get an application fee waiver, and I applied for it and I got a waiver. So consider that. But if it's a school you really want, they don't have application fee waiver, you have to cover that cost yourself. Yeah.
I think there are some questions on the chat box. Yusuf, you have a question, please. Go ahead. Let's take Yusuf then before you go to the ones on the chat box. Yusuf,
Okay,
please ask good afternoon.
Thank you for this presentation. I think my question goes on that. I already applied, sending my application for the PTA, and I've chosen the school through the. Do I have to wait until I gain the scholarship, then I will apply directly for the school, or there's a deadline between the time you be given the scholarship and when you should apply to the school you chose?
You should do both hand in hand. Apply to schools, apply for the scholarship, because most times PTF scholarship comes out late and you don't want to be rushing and everything. But another thing is, you don't necessarily have to go the year you apply for the scholarship. I don't know if I mentioned that. Even if you get the scholarship this year, it's not compulsory that you must go this year. You can still discuss for like a year and everything. Be applying to school as well as be applying for the scholarship. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Someone, please go ahead. Let's get this, please. Someone, I think your hand is up.
Hold on, I'm coming.
Okay.
Hello?
Go ahead. Someone.
Okay, I want to ask. Yes.
Someone,
Can
go
you hear
ahead.
me?
Someone, go ahead. Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask, in my previous application, there was a space that was just remaining blank up to now. That was identification document. There was nothing there. I want to know what went wrong, or was it that my application was not complete?
Can you come in like on
In the previous application, the one I applied, the previous one, under the information, my profile information, there's a space there that says identification documents. It is just blank. There is nothing there. I don't know why it is like that. What could be the problem?
I'm hearing a lot. If it's a
Pay attention to the ones on the chat box. Somewhere. Send your question and
Okay, let me message. Let me drop the thing on the message. Chat box.
Okay, that will be fine.
Thanks.
Okay, Abraham, please can you just briefly tell us your question so we can close for that? So, Abraham, go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much. I actually joined in very late, but my question is this: I haven't completed my application actually, and that was the reason why I waited up till now. Is that I already applied to a school earlier before the PTDF application, and the course is not on the PTDF portal for the school. I want to ask now, having been given admission in that school, can I still apply for? I choose that school in my application with a different course and later change it if I'm being given the offer.
Can you choose a school in your application and change it if you are given an offer?
The question is, let me clarify my question better. Is that the school on the PTDF portal doesn't have the course is not there. But I already applied to that earlier and I've been given admission in that course. I'm now asking if I now choose that school in the PTDF portal, if the course is somehow related, just that it's not the exact one that is there, it's related. Can I still change it?
Choose something close to it on the portal.
I can choose something related to that on the portal.
Choose something related to it and talk about that. Then you can also apply to that course. But just do everything you can to get the scholarship, and then as far as the course is still related to oil and gas, you can talk about that. Do you understand?
All right, thank you so much.
For the ones in the chat box, I don't know if probably for my network issues, I don't know where you responded to Franklin. Do I need to apply to the university before while applying for the PTDF?
We're currently at, I think, Ore's question, if you can select the same country in all three choices, and the answer to that is yes. From there, what courses can someone with a background in environmental management study? I think I've answered this question. Talk about doing your research. If you have a background in environmental management I think oil and gas has to do with the environment, so I'm pretty sure you can make a case about that. Or if you want to do a managerial course and maybe engineering management or something like that. I don't know much about this field, but you might want to do some research and see how it aligns. Then with a manufacturing industry experience, especially FMCG, what are the chances? Make a case. Apply and make a case. That's why one of the things I said was do your research. You can literally Google, okay, how can I tie this to oil and gas? Is there any possibility and things like that? But it has to be related to oil and gas. You can't want to go for a course in FMCG and apply to that and use that as want to use that for your interview to talk about. They'll ask you how is it related, and if you can't answer that question, then you are limiting your chances. My question to courses, or my answer to the courses specifically, to do your research. How should courses be detailed in statement of purpose when the applicant does not intend to choose the same program for the first, second, and third? Choose one. Choose one course and talk about it. After you get the scholarship, you can then discuss you can then decide which of the courses you want to take. I hope that answers your question. If someone gets the scholarship, Adamu is asking, hello, please, if someone gets the scholarship, will the funds be paid to you here in Nigeria, or you will have to fund yourself till you get to the UK, then it will be refunded as a scholarship fund? PTDF does not pay you in Nigeria. They pay you when you arrive at the UK. So you might want to have some money on you before you go. You might want to have some money on you before you arrive at UK, and something that will sustain you for at least 2 months. Because after that, that's when you pay. But you definitely receive payment, just not as soon as possible. This is a good question. But if you have to make any purchase on your end, maybe you're trying to be fast or something, they will refund you, but it may take a bit of a time of a while. I think we already answered this question. Do I need to apply to the universities before apply? Do I need to apply to the universities while applying? I think I've answered this already. Do I need to apply to the universities when selected for this? Yes, you do. Age limit for MSc applicants. What if someone that is 31 years old? There is no age limit on the portal. I have a friend that is above, or even the person I schooled with, my classmate while I was studying, was way above 31, so there is no age limit for it. Do you have archive of PTDF SOP examples or website that can guide accordingly? Unfortunately, I do not currently have that. Can one apply to a different school that he did not select during application? I think Oba asked this question. Yes, you can apply to a different school. I applied to like 5 or 6 schools, and I only had 3 in my application, because you just want as many options as possible, because you don't know, in the end, you don't know what school will give you admission and things like that. Do you understand? Can you clarify? You have 3 school choice country, 3 choices of country. We have 3 choices of schools, and then you have 3 choices of courses. So when you choose the country, then you choose the school, then you choose the courses. Basically, you have 3 school choices. I don't think I understand this question. Once you choose the country, it will give you a drop down of schools that you can choose from. It will give you a drop down of schools that you can choose from. Sorry, I didn't realize my phone was off. If someone gets the scholarship, will the funds be paid to you here in Nigeria, or you have answered that? On a surface level, can you give an overview of the documents needed to apply for admission in these partner schools? Each school is different. If you're applying to UK schools, it's pretty straightforward. Your CV, your degree certificate, and things like that. But each school basically details what they require. For PTDF application, when choosing courses, is it possible to be interested in a particular course, but it's not available in the course drop-down? Yes, it's possible. You might want to choose a course close to it and maybe talk about the course you've chosen. Are we still on that time, Barry?
I think you just take
2 more questions.
let me say 2-3 more questions. If you know your question has been answered, please, you don't need to raise your hand again. Monday, please. I think you are done with basically all the questions. So let's just take 2-3 questions, then we wrap it up. I think that'll be fine.
Oh, good afternoon.
Let's just take from Solomon. I've not heard from a lady.
Yes, I'm speaking now.
We take from Solomon, Mary, and that'll be all. Please go ahead, Solomon.
Good afternoon, Miss Ogale. I appreciate the session. I'll be very swift. I am a mechanical engineering graduate. I currently work in an FMCG in the power generation section. I'm trying to be very clear about this. You can clearly relate power generation with oil and gas, but I
Mhm.
work in the FMCG. How do I tailor this? Do we have a goal in my FMCG to expand into supplying to grid? Want to build the generation into a business unit that can supply power to national grid? I was like thinking of focusing my SOP in that area, that once I get the skill in this area, I can contribute to helping my company achieve this milestone. Do I necessarily need to tailor it to oil and gas, or I should build on what we are trying to achieve in my company?
Actually, just one moment. For that question, I would say that you can't talk about, you're asking if you should just focus on your company, right? On the impact you have on your company. Then you can't entirely focus on your company and tell them that, oh, later you transfer it to oil and gas, because they care about oil and gas in Nigeria. I don't know if you understand me. I think I know someone that worked at Egbin. I don't know if he's still here, if he wants to throw more light on this question. Meshach, if you're here. So you can apply for the scholarship, but make sure you're able to tailor whatever you're doing to oil and gas. And that's depends on your research. You can say, oh, you work in this place and you understand that there's this gap in the oil and gas sector in Nigeria, and then you can transfer the skill, or basically you're telling them that this is what you've done so far. This course you're going to study. What course do you want to study?
I want to study thermal energy engineering for gas turbine precisely.
Not sure I can hear you. You want to study thermal engineering for gas turbine option. And how is that related to oil and gas? Well, you know what's interesting? There are people that have gotten this scholarship by saying they want to study energy or renewable energy. And renewable energy is literally the opposite of oil and gas, if we're being honest. It's basically how they present it. My advice to you would be, I feel like you have a strong spot, or you can make a strong case, right? But you need to do your research. I can't emphasize doing your research enough, because I'm not in the...
Can I comment?
Yes, thank you, Meshach. Meshach is also a scholar. He works at Egbin Power Plant, so I believe he can. I want him to do more justice to this question. Meshach, you can go ahead.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, I'm not a scholar. I'm graduated actually.
Well, all graduated.
Yeah, I heard your question very well. I also have a background in power generation from Nigeria, actually UK. Like I said, the strategy I used in my SOP was actually for a problem in the Nigerian oil and gas space. I'm speaking on behalf of engineers and doing actually for a problem in the oil and gas space in Nigeria. And because I was going to study at the University of Manchester was reliability engineering and asset management. So reliability engineering is simply maintenance engineering. Anything that has to do with assets, engineering assets, has to be maintained, no matter the industry you find yourself. If it's oil and gas industry, if it's power industry, you actually need to maintain your assets, right? Since you have experience in that field, the strategy I used was to identify a gap, a problem in the oil and gas space, which with the maintenance issues. And one of the things I did was I used the downstream sector as an example, the refining sector as an example in case in that regard. And I had to connect it with the course I was going to study in UK, which is reliability engineering, asset management. Whichever method you want to use, whichever approach you want to use, just make sure that whatever you're doing, you are providing a solution to a gap you've identified, be it oil and gas, be it the power industry. In fact, the power industry also depends on the oil and gas sector, because most of our gas turbines are powered by gas. Most of our plants are powered by gas in Nigeria. So there's a relationship between the power industry and the oil and gas industry as it's well. Whichever strategy you want to use, just make sure that that thing is solving a problem or is closing a gap in the oil and gas space. That's where you'll be able to sell yourself and market your work experience to the panel who is going to be in your interview. I just hope I answered that.
Yes, that was a strong one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Meshach, for shedding more light on that. He did power engineering. I'm pretty sure that's why I just called on him to speak. Like you said, just identify a gap. For anyone that's wondering about what course you want to study or anything, identify a gap. There's never a yes or no, and just shoot your shot. Barry, how many more questions can I take?
Just one. Thank
Okay.
you, Meta, for that wonderful response. I think we take from Mary and we call it a wrap. Mary, please. Mary, are you there? I think,
Yeah, she's
Mary,
in.
are you there?
Hi. Hello, Ogali.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
I'm fine. My question is just quite simple. It's about the SOP. So I just want to understand better. I have three choices of universities, and then I take three different courses, but related to the oil and gas. Three different courses, but related to the oil and gas. Now, while writing my SOP or going for the interview stage, what do I like? Which of the course do I take, or how do I tailor it in such a way that it fits into my SOP, and then I can defend the reason why I'm studying this course? That's just simple.
Yes, I think I said something similar to this. You want to pick one of what you want to study, and possibly your first option or your second option or your third option or anything like that. So you want to pick one of it, right? And then you want to talk extensively about that, right? Like I mentioned, you have to do your research on like why you want to study that course, how it's going to benefit the oil and gas industry, and things like that. So just pick one of it. You don't have to talk, even if it's three different courses, you don't have to talk about all three of them and say, oh, I want to study this and this, this and this, this and this. Just pick one of them. And for your interviews, the whole point is you want to get this scholarship by telling them about what you want to do, why you want to do it, and how it is relevant to them. Just focus on one thing, because if you're now trying to focus on three different things at the same time, your attention will be split into different places. You understand?
That's okay. Thank you so much.
All right.
I think let's call it a wrap. I want to sincerely thank you, Ogari, for having us. Thank you very much for your time, sacrifice. When we reach out to you, you did not sit down to grant us access and promise to be here to the issues to feel. We sincerely appreciate. For those of you that is joining us for the first time, I think this is our February YP cycle. We had the one of January, I think that was last week, which we talked about NSC registration. Those of you from the engineering background, give a guide on how to go about your NSC registration and also your career, which you see the cars make it very important and necessary for you to have a successful application. You have to have your member of any of these bodies, which we try the best we can to bring in one of the leaders in the NSC to address that issue. If you not join us yet, there is a link on the chat box. Please register to be part of us. We do have a monthly section. The young professionals do have a monthly section every month. I think next month we are also having a section. Next month, International Women's Day, we are having a section for the young women professional in our midst. We should be having one of the top leadership in women in power in UK to address us on that account. Then subsequently, we'll be having CV interview and also how to pass our exam, get the jobs and all of that. We share a lot of job opportunities on our platform, and we encourage everyone to be part of us and be part of what we are doing. I think for that, I don't know how you are going to do it. I think SOP is one of the issues we are currently having in terms of this PTDF registration. I don't know how we are going to do that. If within the week we can have a section to address these SOP issues. What do you think?
We'll discuss further.
That'll be fine. We've come to the conclusion of today's section.
Let me just, first of all, if you don't mind, before we get to the end, I always like to appreciate, anytime I speak, my parents always get to support me, so I always like to appreciate them. So I want to appreciate them as well. And I can see some other questions on the chat. Since we don't have enough time, maybe you could send me a DM or LinkedIn to answer the questions. But yeah, Barry, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much. If you've not joined us, there is also the WhatsApp group chat link that has also been dropped in the chat box. Feel free to join us and be part of what we are doing. I want to once again thank you very much, Gary, for that wonderful presentations, your time, your effort you put in. Very few we leave their schedule and be part of this session to also make others be beneficiary of what is benefit from. I sincerely appreciate you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for the platform. I'm grateful.
Those of you that have not also registered, please, you can get the link. Register. The recorded video will be sent to everyone that registered through your mail. So if you've not registered, please feel free to register for this section so we can get your email. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time and everything to be part of this today. We sincerely appreciate. So we come to the end of today's section. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.